You ever wonder why the minimum payment on your credit card is always just small enough to pay, but never small enough to matter? Picture this. It's 2008. A woman in Ohio, let's call her Sarah, she gets her credit card statement. She owes $4,000. The minimum payment is $80. She thinks, okay, I can handle $80 a month. That's manageable. That's responsible. So she pays it every month, $80. She never misses a payment, never late. She's doing everything right. 10 years later, she still owes $3,800. She's paid nearly $10,000 over a decade, and she's barely made a dent. The balance barely moved. And here's the thing that keeps her up at night. She can't figure out where the money went. It didn't disappear. It went exactly where it was designed to go, into a system that's been engineered over 70 years to do one thing: keep you paying forever. This isn't an accident. This isn't bad luck. This is math. Cold, precise, predatory math. And someone spent a lot of time making sure you'd never understand it. Because if you understood it, if you really saw how it worked, you'd never make a minimum payment again. Let's pull back the curtain and find the architects. Here's what happens when you make a minimum payment. Let's say you owe $5,000 on a card with 20% interest. That's the average rate in America right now. Your minimum payment is usually about 2% of the balance, so that's $100. Sounds reasonable, right? You send in your $100, and here's what the bank does with it. They take the interest first. 20% annual interest on $5,000 is $1,000 a year. Divide that by 12 months. That's $83 a month. So out of your $100 payment, $83 goes to interest. Only $17 touches the actual debt. You just paid $100 to reduce your balance by $17. Next month, you owe $4,983. The interest on that is slightly less, but not much. You pay another $100, $82 to interest, $18 to the balance. Month after month, year after year, almost everything you pay gets eaten by interest. You're not climbing out of the hole. You're treading water, and the water is slowly rising. If you only make minimum payments on $5,000 at 20% interest, it'll take you 43 years to pay it off. 43 years. You'll pay over $16,000 total, more than triple what you borrowed, and that's if you never use the card again. Never add another dollar to the balance. Most people do. They have to. Because life happens, and the trap gets deeper. This is the revolving door. You walk through it thinking you're making progress, but you end up exactly where you started. Month after month, year after year. The door keeps spinning, and you keep walking, and you never get out. And the people who built this door, they're counting on that. They designed it that way. Let's go back to the beginning. Back to when someone figured out how to turn debt into a subscription service. It's 1950. America just won a war. The economy is exploding. Factories that made tanks are now making cars. Factories that made bombers are making refrigerators. There's more stuff to buy than ever before in human history. But there's a problem. Most people don't have enough cash to buy it all right now. They have jobs. They have income, but it comes in paychecks. Weekly. Bi-weekly. And the stores want to sell now. So someone has an idea. What if we let people buy now and pay later? Credit isn't new. Store credit has been around forever. You go to the local shop, the owner knows you, he lets you run a tab, you settle up at the end of the month. But that's small scale. Personal. Based on trust and relationships. What happens in the 1950s is different. It's industrialized. In 1950, a man named Frank McNamara is having dinner at a restaurant in New York. When the check comes, he realizes he forgot his wallet. He's embarrassed. He has to call his wife to bring money. And sitting there, waiting, humiliated. He has an idea. What if there was a card you could carry that would let you pay later? A universal credit card, not tied to one store. Good everywhere. He creates the Diners Club card. It's not really credit at first. It's a charge card. You use it, you pay the full balance at the end of the month. No interest, just convenience. But other people see this and they see something bigger. They see a way to make money not from selling things, but from lending money to buy things. And the key insight, the thing that changes everything, is this. If you let people pay over time, you can charge them interest. And if you make the minimum payment small enough, they'll pay that interest forever. Enter Bank of America, 1958. They launched the Bank AmeriCard. It's the first true revolving credit card. You can carry a balance, pay it off slow, and they'll charge you interest on what you owe. The minimum payment is born. And here's the genius of it, the evil genius. They set the minimum just low enough that it feels affordable. Low enough that you think you're being responsible by paying it, but high enough that it sounds like progress. You're paying something, right? You're not ignoring the debt. You're handling it. Except you're not. You're feeding it. The other banks see this and they want in. By the 1960s, credit cards are everywhere. Master Charge, which becomes MasterCard, American Express, Carte Blanche. They're all competing for customers. And the way you compete is by making credit easier. Lower minimum payments, higher credit limits, faster approvals. They're not selling cards anymore. They're selling the illusion of wealth. The feeling that you can afford things you can't actually afford, and it works. Americans start carrying balances, big balances. But there's still a problem. Interest rates are capped. States have usury laws that limit how much interest you can charge. In most states, it's 6%, maybe 10%. The credit card companies can't make enough money at those rates. So they start looking for a way around the laws. And they find it in South Dakota, 1978. The economy is a disaster. Inflation is out of control. Interest rates are skyrocketing. The credit card companies are losing money because they're borrowing at high rates but can only lend at low rates. They're getting squeezed, and they need a solution. They find a governor in South Dakota named Bill Janklow. South Dakota is broke, dying. Farms are failing. Young people are leaving. Janklow needs something to save the state. The banks make him an offer. If South Dakota removes its usury cap, lets banks charge whatever interest rate they want, the banks will move their credit card operations to South Dakota. Thousands of jobs, millions in tax revenue. Janklow takes the deal. In 1980, South Dakota passes a law eliminating the interest rate cap. Citibank moves in immediately, sets up massive call centers, brings thousands of jobs. Other states see this and panic. If they don't compete, they'll lose the banks too. Delaware passes a similar law. Then Nevada. It's a race to the bottom. Within a few years, credit card companies can charge whatever they want, and they do. Rates that were 6 or 8% in the 70s are now 18, 20, 25%. Some cards go higher, 30%, 35%. Rates that used to be illegal, rates that used to be called loan sharking, and the minimum payment stays low, 2%, 2.5%. Just enough to keep you in the game, just enough to make you think you're making progress. But the math has changed. At 20% interest, the minimum payment is designed to keep you trapped for decades, and most people don't realize it until it's too late. Here's how they keep you from seeing it. It's all in how they present the information. Your credit card statement shows you the minimum payment in big numbers, easy to see, hard to miss. It shows your total balance, and maybe, if you look closely, it shows how long it'll take to pay off if you only make minimum payments, but it's in small print at the bottom. In language designed to be boring, designed to make your eyes glaze over. They're legally required to show you this information now, but only because people got destroyed for decades without it. There was a Senate hearing in 2004. Credit card executives sitting at a table. Senators asking questions. One senator asks a simple question. If someone owes $5,000 at 18% interest and makes only minimum payments, how long until they're debt-free? The executive squirms. He doesn't want to answer. Finally, he admits it. 30 years. 30 years to pay off $5,000. And that's only if you never use the card again. The room goes silent, because everyone suddenly understands. This isn't lending. This is a trap. But understanding it doesn't change it. The system is legal. It's everywhere. It's normalized. You need a credit card to rent a car, to book a hotel, to buy things online. And once you have it, the temptation is always there. Use it for emergencies. Use it for Christmas. Use it for that thing you really need right now. And the minimum payment makes it feel manageable. It makes the debt feel smaller than it is. Because you're not looking at the total, you're looking at the monthly payment. And the monthly payment is always just small enough to say yes to. Let's talk about how they get you to use the card in the first place. Because it's not enough to give you credit. They have to make you want to use it. So they gamify it. Rewards points, cash back, miles. They make spending feel like winning. Every purchase earns you something. You're not spending money. You're earning points. You're getting 2% back. You're being smart. Except the interest you're paying is 20%. You're earning 2 and paying 20. But it doesn't feel that way. It feels like free money. And they raise your limit without asking. You start with a $1,000 limit. You use it. You pay it down. Not all the way, but some. And 6 months later, they send you a letter. Good news. We're increasing your credit limit to $3,000. You didn't ask for this, but now you have it, and it feels like they're giving you something, like you earned it, like you're trustworthy. What it really means is they want you to borrow more, because the more you borrow, the more interest you pay, and the minimum payment stays low enough that you think you can handle it. Here's the part that should make you angry. They have entire departments dedicated to studying how to keep you in debt. Behavioral psychologists, data scientists, people who analyze millions of transactions to figure out exactly how much credit to give you, exactly when to offer you a balance transfer, exactly how to word the statement so you make the minimum payment instead of paying in full. This isn't banking. This is engineering, social engineering. Psychological warfare, and you're the target. They know, down to the decimal point, how much debt you can carry before you default, and they want you right at that edge, not over it, because if you default, they lose money. But right at the edge, where you're stressed, where you're struggling, but you're still paying, that's the sweet spot. That's where they make the most money. And the minimum payment is the tool that keeps you there. Let's run the numbers again, because this is important. You owe $10,000, 22% interest. That's not unusual. That's normal for a lot of cards. Your minimum payment is $200. Sounds like a lot. You're paying $200 a month. You think you're handling it. Here's what actually happens. The interest on $10,000 at 22% is $2,200 a year. Divide that by 12, that's $183 a month. So out of your $200 payment, $183 goes to interest. $17 reduces the balance. You're paying $200 to make $17 of progress. At that rate, it'll take you 61 years to pay it off. 61 years. You'll pay over $43,000 total for a $10,000 debt. And that's assuming the interest rate never goes up, assuming you never miss a payment, assuming you never use the card again. Most people can't do that. They miss a payment, the rate jumps to 29%. They use the card for an emergency, The balance goes up. The trap gets tighter. And here's the thing they don't tell you. The minimum payment isn't designed to help you. It's designed to help them. It keeps you paying just enough to avoid default, but not enough to escape. It's a slow bleed, and they've calculated exactly how slow it needs to be to last as long as possible. There's a term for this: debt serfdom. You're not technically a slave. You can walk away, but if you do, your credit gets destroyed. You can't buy a house, can't buy a car, can't rent an apartment in a lot of places, so you keep paying, month after month, year after year. You're free, in theory, trapped, in practice. The credit card companies made $54 billion in interest and fees in 2022. $54 billion. That's not from selling products. That's from lending money. From interest. From late fees. From people making minimum payments and getting nowhere. That's the business model. And it works. It works because most people don't understand the math. And the people who do understand it have a financial incentive to keep it complicated. So how do you get out? First, you have to see it clearly. Look at your statement. Really look at it. Find the part that shows how long it'll take to pay off if you only make minimums. It's there. It's required by law now. Read it. Let it sink in. If it says 30 years, that's not a mistake. That's the plan. Their plan. And you need a different one. Stop making minimum payments. I know that sounds obvious, but it's not. Because the minimum payment feels safe. It feels like you're doing the right thing. You're not. You're volunteering to be bled for decades. Pay more, as much as you can. Every extra dollar you pay goes directly to the principal, not to interest, to the actual debt, and it compounds. If you're paying $200 when the minimum is $100, you're not just paying off the debt twice as fast. You're paying it off way faster because you're cutting the interest. If you have multiple cards, attack the highest interest rate first. Not the highest balance. The highest rate. Because that's where the bleeding is worst. Pay minimum on everything else. Throw everything you can at the card with the worst rate. When that's dead, move to the next one. This is called the avalanche method. It's math. Cold, simple math. And it works. Or, if you need the psychological win, pay off the smallest balance first. That's called the snowball method. It's not mathematically optimal, but it gives you a victory, a closed account, one less payment. And sometimes you need that momentum to keep going. Either way works. Just pick one and commit. And stop using the cards. I know. You need them for emergencies. Here's the truth. The emergency fund is what you need for emergencies, not credit. Credit is what turns an emergency into a crisis. Save cash. Even if it's slow, even if it's $20 a week, build a buffer. Because the next time something breaks, if you put it on the card, you just made it worse. Cut up the cards if you have to. Freeze them in a block of ice. Whatever it takes to create friction, to make using them hard. Because right now, they're too easy. Swipe and go. Tap and done. There's no pain, no resistance, and your brain doesn't register it as spending. It registers it as points, as rewards, as nothing. You need to make it real again. Here's the deeper thing. You have to reject the story they sold you. The story that you can afford things you can't afford, that you deserve things you haven't earned, that debt is normal. It's not normal. It's new. Your grandparents didn't live like this. They saved first, bought second. They waited. They went without, and they weren't miserable. They were free. Free from payments. Free from interest. Free from the constant low-level anxiety of owing money to strangers. The credit card industry wants you to believe that debt is a tool, and it can be, in rare cases, used carefully. But for most people, It's not a tool. It's a trap. And the minimum payment is the bait. It makes the trap look safe, look manageable, look like a responsible choice. It's not. It's a slow death, financial death, not dramatic, not sudden, just slow, grinding. Year after year, paying and getting nowhere. There's a reason they call it revolving credit, because you revolve, you spin, you move, but you don't go anywhere. The door keeps turning and you keep walking and you end up right back where you started. Except now you're older, more tired, and the debt is still there, waiting. You want to know the real win? Owing nothing, not having a minimum payment at all, waking up and not owing anyone anything. That's freedom. Not points, not rewards, not a higher credit limit. Freedom. And you can't buy freedom with credit. You can only earn it by getting out. So here's what you do. Today, right now, look at your balance. Look at your interest rate. Calculate what you're actually paying. Not the minimum, the total, the real cost. And then decide if it's worth it. Decide if 20 years of payments is worth whatever you bought. Most of the time, it's not. And once you see that, once you really see it, you can't unsee it. The system is designed to keep you in the door, keep you spinning, keep you paying. Your only way out is to stop playing by their rules. Pay more than the minimum. Pay off the highest rate. Stop using the cards. Build cash. And slowly, month by month, you'll stop revolving. You'll step out of the door, and you'll be free. The banks won't tell you this. They can't, because their entire business model depends on you not figuring it out, on you making minimum payments forever, on you staying in the trap. But now you know. The math, the history, the game, and you can choose to stop playing. The revolving door only works if you keep walking through it.